Boker Or, Masechet Kiddushin Daf Aleph Amud Aleph 81a1. We were speaking about the sotah, and we spoke about the entire concept of the sotah, right? That when a person is going to be a sotah, right? When she's suspected of a sotah, we are not going to come and we're not going to give, right? We're not going to let him have relations with her, because if right now he's going to have relations with her, what happens is that that's it. Right, that the sotah waters don't work. So therefore, what do? They give them two Talmidei Chachamim. We thought that two Talmidei Chachamim was because of Yichud and not just some regular people. We said no, two Talmidei Chachamim to give them a ta'ah, to give them a warning, right, that you do not want. Fine. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. He comes and he says like this. Lo shanu ela ba'ir. Our Mishnah that says that it's permitted for a woman to have yichud with two men is talking about, right, about in the city. Aval baderech, but on the path, ad shiyu shlosha. You need three. Meaning like this. I'm going to ask you a question. Right now, you're here in the synagogue. So technically speaking, there's no real yichud that would be in the synagogue unless mamash nobody could come in, because if anybody could come in 24/7, there's no yichud, right? And that's the way it is in this Beit Knesset, right? Anybody that has a fob, they come in, or you buzz and they could let you in. So there's no real yichud unless you're going to come and you're going to, right, lock the door. But for example,
also there's
right?
cameras, no?
Well, the cameras don't really save. Cameras are just helping you that if something happens, they protect you. But cameras do not always work for yichud. There is a special heter by cameras by yichud to do with stepchildren. So, for example, let's say a person has a stepchild, right? You have a man that gets married to a woman, right? And she's already got girls. Now, if he's going to be by himself with these girls, there's a problem of yichud. So there, many times you're right. Sometimes they'll come and they'll do, yes, and they'll do, how do you call this? The cameras just to save, because at the end of the day, what are you going to say now? Okay.
Even there's several girls. There's one girl.
What? One, or we're going to speak about 1 and 2. That's what we're speaking about now. So now it says we're going to one and two. So now, right? If right now he comes and he says like this, right? So 1 second, right? Listen, everyone. So what happens now is, right, as follows. What happens now is, right? He comes and he says like this. He says, right? He comes and he says like this. He says, we have to understand that when we're coming and we're talking about now the entire concept of yichud with two people, right? One more time. One woman with two men, right? But that was the heter. One woman with two men. So therefore, that's only going to be in the city. But if you're traveling, so this once happened, somebody called me up, say, Rabbi, I want to go to the airport to pick up my parents. And he wants to go with his fiancée. But now it's out of the city. You're going outside. So now it's not enough anymore that you're going to have two men. You need three men. Why? Three men, right? And the woman. Why? Because maybe one of the men have to go to the washroom. And therefore, meaning like this, if you're only going to have two men, and one man now goes to the washroom, so now you have yichud, right? Now you have yichud. So because of that, right, you're always going to need that there's going to be three people. So even if one person goes to the washroom, there's always going to be two men with the woman. Okay, and therefore it's not going to be, by themselves, as they say. So Neima Mesayale, right? Why don't we just say that there's a proof that what? Mosrim lo shne tamidei chachamim shem yavo alea baderech trei ve'ihu hatlata. What did we just say? We just said that if you're going to take a sotah to the Bet HaMikdash, the husband is taking her to the Bet HaMikdash. We give the husband two milavim, two people that are going to accompany him. Who are they? Two Talmidei Chachamim. Why are you giving him the two Talmidei Chachamim? Because there was going to be three men. Yeah. And by always having three men, there's a proof that you always need three men. But they're going in the path. They're traveling to Yerushalayim to give her to the drink of the waters of the Sotah. So answers the Gemara, what are you talking about? It wasn't because you needed three. Hatam over there, you needed in order that they should testify that really be'emet, right, that there's no relations or there was a relations. Meaning they gave them two Talmidei Chachamim, not because of the Yichud problem. They gave them two Talmidei Chachamim to testify what's going on. Because if this guy went and he lived with his wife, they're not going to give her the water to drink because it's not going to work anymore. And if he didn't live with, so they're testifying, listen, we were with him the entire time. He didn't do anything with his wife, and therefore he could give him to drink. Okay? Rav Yehuda avu ka'az le'ba'orcha. Rav and Rav Yehuda, right, they were going on the path, right? And when they were going on the path, right? There was a woman that was going in front of them. So remember, you had Rav and Rav Yehuda, and right in front of them was a woman. Elmaleh, Rav Yehuda says, Rav to Rav Yehuda, Dal karech mikame geinam. Right? What does that mean? We have to go, right, quickly, right, and to go in front of them. Meaning we're not supposed to go behind her, we're supposed to go in front of her. Why? He says, because if not, we have to basically remove our legs from Gehinam, right? This is where we get into the concept of mixed events, Mordechai. Yeah, what does that mean, right? If right now they're coming and they're saying that they cannot come behind a woman, you're not allowed to walk behind a woman. The reason why is because when you're going in front of a woman or you're going face to face with a woman, a person usually in the olden days, it would be embarrassed. And therefore, since it would be embarrassed, they wouldn't be able to look at her. Why? Because, what are you looking at? But if you're behind her, you're not embarrassed. She doesn't see you. You could, shuf einike, how did you say babahaki? Yeah, you could look whatever you want, right? And do whatever you want, right? And that's it. So therefore, comes Rav Yehuda and he says, we have to run away. Why? Because if not, we're going to be going to Geinam. Elmaleh, he says, he said, I thought that you said, right, there was iksharim, you're allowed to, meaning we're two. So if it's two and she's one, there's no problem of yichud. Elmaleh comes and he says, who talked about the ksharim or talking about is me and you? We're talking about Rav Chanina bar Papi b'chaverav, which means something incredible. We asked yesterday, who is a person that is kasher? Who is a person that's kosher? Yesterday we said that if you have people which are kosher or people which are prutzim ba'rayot, who is kosher? Rav and Rav Yehuda are saying, we're not kosher. Right? One of them said that. So he says, who is it? Rav Chanina bar Papi and his friends. That what happened to them? It says over here that an averah came to their hands. It's a Gemara Lameteta Mubet and Mem Mudalef. There were kama nisyonot kashot to do with averot that came to Rav Chanina bar Papa and his friends, Rabbi Tzadok Rav Kahana, that they actually controlled their Yetzer Hara. And they went and they actually fought their Yetzer Hara, and they were able. So that means if the Averah came to their hand, and then they controlled themselves, and they didn't do the Averah, now they're considered kasher. But if a person never had the Averah come to his hand, even if he's Rav, and that's what it says here, Rav Yehuda, he says, whoever said that we're kosher, we're considered kosher. Whoever said that? Amar Rav comes and he says another halacha also as well.
How about the test?
Yeah, you have to pass the test. Amar Rav comes and he says, Malkin al yichud. Do you know that we give lashes for yichud? Ve'en osrin al yichud, but we do not prohibit on yichud. What does that mean? If you have a case right now of somebody that had yichud, we would actually come and we would give lashes. We do not prohibit for yichud, which means that if a man and a woman were together by themselves, we're not going to come and say, you know what, you're prohibited on your husband. Why? We're not osrim ala yichud, right? The Amar Ravashi lo amran, but says Ravashi, what are we talking about? Ela biyichud pnuya. Only if it's talking about a yichud of a pnuya. Aval biyichud yishet ish lo. If it's going to be yichud of a married woman, we don't give lashes. Meaning, if right now the guy's by himself with a girl that's not married, we give them lashes. But if it's going to be with a married woman, we don't give lashes.
Wow.
No.
Why?
Very good. Why? I was waiting for you guys to jump. He says, "Shelo tehem mutzilaz al banea." You know why? What happens is like this: when you give lashes,
Nobody's cheating.
everybody finds out about it.
Yeah.
Something done publicly.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you're going to give lashes, you're giving a warning. So therefore, we come to this girl and we tell this girl, "Listen, I'm sorry, you're misbehaving." She gets the palisa, as they say. We give her the lashes, right? Why? Because that was the shita of the Torah, right? Somebody does something wrong, you give them on the head. I know people don't like that, but that's the way it is. What?
To her and to him, or
Yes,
just to her?
yes. Now, what happens now is, right? She's a married woman. Imagine right now, right? You're walking by Medin, and all of a sudden now, right? They're coming and they're giving lashes to this man and to this woman. Say, hey, what's going on over here? No, they were together by themselves. Say, now I understand why her son over there doesn't look 100% like, doesn't 100% look like the father. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I understand everything. Not to be motzi laz on the children. We don't give lashes on that. We tell them off, but we don't give lashes. Because if we're going to give lashes,
Then we
now
are
you're making all the
accepting.
children mamzerim, and it could be maybe they were not mamzerim. Maybe the children were 100% kosher, and only now she started, because the guy came, he started, flattering her, he started this, he started that, and then, so only now maybe something started happening, but not before. So in order not to be motzi laz, to take out the laz is basically like bad things, bad reports upon the children, we don't give lashes.
Question: if it happens 2 times,
Huh?
if it happens 2 times.
So again, once it happens a few times, Bedin actually come and usually they'll give lashes a few times, but after a few times they just put them in jail and they let them rot. Right? But it all depends. Again, it's circumstances. Right? Circumstances, obviously. Okay? Morzutra malke umachris. He says, do you know, right? Marzutra used to give lashes even to a married woman and this guy, but he used to mention it. Meaning, he said, you know what? If like what you said, they'll do it again and again. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to give lashes, what's going to stop them? Right? People only understand when they get the beating, right? Not beforehand. So what happens is he comes and he says, no, but you know what's happening? He comes and he says, give them the lashes. But according to Morzutra, he used to make it publicly known. I mean, he used to say, by the way, we're giving lashes, but not because she did anything. Just the fact that they were together by themselves. Now you're going to tell me, right? And by the way, you should understand which one.
That still creates doubt.
No, but he's mentioning it. He's machriz. He's giving achraza, and by telling everybody publicly, listen, that's it. This is what happened. Meaning we're not 100% sure. Now you're not going to always say that. Listen, this is what they've always done. You understand? Right? That's what's very, very, very
So it
important.
doesn't care about the laws on the children.
No, because it's clear now. It's not because of that. It's clear.
Yeah. So Morzutra comes and he gives the lashes, but he used to do a disclaimer, and the disclaimer used to protect them. So Elmaleh Rav Nachman mi Parhati al Ravashi, says Rav Nachman from Parhati to Ravashi, more nami lilke velichris. So he comes and he says, right? So do the same thing, right? And maybe this is what you were trying to allude to. He says, so 1 second, if you could do this and give a disclaimer, do that. Do it and give a disclaimer. And then you're saying, listen, I'm just showing support. It's not a really bad method, it's a real threat. So he comes and he says, Elmaleh, Ika de shama beha, velo shama beha. It could be that there's going to be a case, right? That somebody's going to hear about the lashes, but they're not going to hear about the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Right? That could happen. So because of that, the first shita, which is going to be Ravashi, just says, you know what? I just prefer just don't give the lashes. Why? Because if they don't hear the disclaimer, they're going to start putting things together. And they don't want that. Okay? Amar Rav. Rav comes and he says, Malkin al lo tova shemua. Do you know that we're even going to give lashes on somebody that is parutz parayot, even if we do not see anything, meaning on bad reputation. So if you right now, you come and you start hearing that this girl is whatever it is, right? And she's fooling around, you could already give lashes just on that. On a lo shemua tova, you give lashes. Shneimar b'zez masuk el baal al banai ki lo tova shemua Hashem nochi shomea. Morzutra says motiv la'afsire al kitveh, where he used to put on his back, right, the tzavar v'bema lanigota, right, al kitifav shel alokeh umakri le al banai. That means he used to come and he actually used to give it to them as if say, but he used to actually read to them this pasuk in order to show that they're getting lashes only because of lo shemot tovot. Meaning just the fact that they have it, that, listen, they're not behaving. This is not the proper way of doing it. What are they doing? They get the lashes. It's already enough. They would do that, right? Remember that once upon a time when the Bedin had the power, they would do these things, right? They would do these things. And in many countries, we had the power. For example, in all Arabic countries where Sharia law, right, was in place, Morocco, for example, the Bedin had power with the police. The Bedin would send the police, go to this person's house, take him, he's going to give a get, this, that. And wasn't only Morocco, in all, they would force it because they had the power, right? Because they understood the power of the Torah. This is what dictates. That's it. And they were able to do it. They come, they see fooling around, boom, lashes. There's nothing to talk about, right? And the person really learns it. He won't do it again. Amar Rabba comes and he says, Ba'ala ba'id en choshim mishum yichud. This is a very important halacha, which applies until today as well. If the husband's in the city, we're not going to suspect for yichud. Why are we not going to suspect for yichud? Because since he could come any single time, right? She's afraid. And therefore, since she's afraid, she's not going to do anything. Now, again, there's going to be obviously, there's still going to be, a lot of different things, whether it's going to be of, like, how do you call this? Of of, let's say she goes to somebody else's house, or because then what's she afraid of? He's going to come home and you understand. But we'll speak about that. Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, "Petach patuach l'reshut rabim en choshim mishum yichud." Another concept: if the door is open to the reshut rabim, there's no yichud. Why is there no yichud? Because people can come in any time. It's not like a closed-off place or in a tunnel or in I don't know what. No, it's open. Rav Bevai ikla lever Rav Yosef. Rav Bevai comes and he visited the house of Rav Yosef. Batar de karach lifta, after they ate, right? Which means after they ate the food, right? Rav Yosef and his wife, they came down right from the sulam labai to the first thing, and Rav Yosef wanted to go out of the house. Amar lehu, so he told them, shekule darga mitute bevai. He comes and he says, take away the ladder in order that there cannot be yichud. Meaning, she was like for example, they were in the top floor, right? They're going downstairs now. So the husband and the wife, they come downstairs. They were just on the top floor with other, how do you call this? With Rav Bevai and Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is now going to leave the house. Now, if Rav Yosef is leaving the house, you have Rav Bevai on the top floor, and you have the wife on the bottom floor. They could come to Yichud. So he told them in Sharatim, take away the ladder. If you take away the ladder, now he can't come down. If he can't come down, so now there's not going to be Yichud. So that's what they did. He basically went and he did it that there's no possibility of them coming to Yichud. So he took away the access. You know how it is like sometimes in an elevator that all of a sudden you can't push the button to go to that floor? The exact same thing. So says the Gemara, Rabbi comes and he says, why did he have to do that? He's in the city. Even if Rav Yosef is going to go out, he's in the city. So answers the Gemara, the guy said that. He says Rav Bevai was different from other people because basically they were always together. Rav Bevai was like a very good family friend of theirs, and therefore the heter of Ba'ala Ba'ir does not help. What does that mean? Ba'ala Ba'ir, the reason why Ba'ala Ba'ir helps is because if the husband's here, I don't suspect that something's going to happen because he could come at any time and he's going to catch them. Now, usually, right, for a man to come and to seduce a woman, it takes time. Why does it take time, right? Unless she's, I don't know what, right, obviously.
Open-minded.
Right? Okay. Yeah, unless, right, it takes time to seduce a woman, right? It does not just come like that. However, though, right, what happens is that people become very acquainted, right? They become very acquainted. You know, for example, they want to do mixed events. They want to become acquainted with each other, right? They want to become, as one, as if to say. So all of a sudden, they make a problem of yichud with everybody. Why? Because once they become acquainted, they start learning each other. They start understanding what's going on. So therefore, for them to all of a sudden come and start convincing other people to do certain things, what happens is all of a sudden, right, it becomes chick-chack. Why? The winks, the this, the that, right? You know that the Rambam says it. The Rambam says, Mefurash, and it's brought down Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to wink to an erva. People do it here all the time. It is in Isur. To do what? You're not allowed to wink to an erva. Meaning you're not allowed to come and wink to the other guy's wife. Like this or this or all these things. Rambam Mefurash, Perek Aleph Milchot Ishut. Right? Huh? Fine. If you have it, you have it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, look at these guys. Fine. It's okay. I'm telling you what halakha. Yeah, he comes and he says like this. Amar Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana comes and he says, Anashim mibachutz v'nashim mibifnim en choshim mishum yichud. He says, what happens if the men are in the outer room and the women are in the inner room? Then we're not going to suspect for yichud. Anashim mibifnim v'nashim mibachutz, right? But if there's going to be the men are on the inside and the women are on the outside, choshashim mishum yichud. We are going to suspect for yichud, right? Why? Because basically what's happening is, and this is what we're actually saying right now, you have two different rooms, right? Now, obviously, they're separate rooms, right? Men, women, basar v'chalav, you have, right? Two separate rooms, right? No, just to make sure, right? We have to make sure that we always understand. Exactly, because rak varim, right? Okay, fine. So now what happens is, you have two separate rooms. You've got an inner room, and you've got an outer room. So now he comes over here like this. He says, now if you want to go out, how do you go out exactly? So if the men are in the outer room and the women are in the inner room, we don't have a problem with yichud, right? Because that means even though they have to go out and they're passing, there's no yichud. But if the men are in the inside room and the women are in the outer room, then there is a problem of yichud. He says, why? He says, because then we're not going to suspect that maybe one of them is going to go into the inner room to have yichud with the women. But he says the other way around, when they have to go outside, so now on the way out, all of a sudden now, right, it's permitted for a woman to have yichud with two men. So it comes out in such a scenario, right, they're not going to be over on the yisur of yichud. But if the women are in the outer room, we're going to suspect that one of the men in the inner room wants to go out, and while he wants to go out, he wants to have yichud with the women that are there, and therefore it's going to be prohibited. In our Mishnah, we taught the exact opposite way. That means we flipped it. Which one's on the inner room and which one's on the outer room? Abaye says, Hashtam damar Rav Kana hachi, but now that Rav Kana said, well, this way, in the bright that was the opposite, we have to go to chumrah. Meaning now we have to go to chumrah on both. Why? Because you have both cases. And since you have both, whether it's going to be, the first case was the men on the inside and women outside, the other case was the men on the inside and the women on the outside, and in both cases you had a machloket, which one's permitted, which one's prohibited. Once we say that it's going to be both prohibited, it's going to be, we have to do the chumrah. Abaye, when he used to see a group of men and women together, right, for example, for a chuppah or for a dirasha, dayer gulfe, he used to be mesader shurot of kankanim, like a mechitza between them, in order, right, that if the men are going to come to the women or the opposite, the kankanim will hear it. Meaning, right, even for, I'll repeat, it's for a chuppah or a dirasha even, right? They want to come. Yeah, that's what the said. Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad it's so mina shamayim that we're learning this mamash. Like these dafim is just like, Baruch Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Melech Malcham Lachim. He's ma'id enenu. He always comes, he always enlightens our eyes to do with the Inyana Diyoma, mamash when we're learning it. And then when the person comes and they open up their eyes and they say, no, this is old stuff, like doesn't apply today. You understand? I'm telling you, something incredible. But here it says like this. He says,
when the man goes from the inner room to the
he came and he used to put these like types of jugs in order that if they would come too close together, right, the men and the women, it would be heard, and therefore they would know. Rav used to put kanim. So he used to put like reeds in between them. So if somebody's going to pass by, they would hear them. It was basically like an alarm system. So imagine you have an alarm system in order to make sure that they're not coming together. Right? Amar Avin comes and he says, Sakva de Shata Rigla. Right? The Zman of the Torpa Shel Hashana, which means the time which is the Chashash Gadol of Yichud or Avera is going to be Bimota Regel. Why? Because when everybody's together, right? So yes, right. He says, imagine right now you come and they come together. That's when they come, and that's when you're going to suspect for it. By the way, why do we have also Bahab? Do you know in Shulchan Aruch there's a special siman that after the Chagim they used to do Bahab? Why would they do bet of Taniot? Because usually there would be Averot done during the Chagim. Because during the Chagim the women come up, right? The women would come. They would be all dressed up nicely. They would be all this. And then what would happen is so and then there's wine. It's a regel, mitzvah, samachta v'chagecha. So there's wine, there's nicely dressed women, there's this, that, and then there's averot. So after, right, Pesach and Sukkot, they would have to do bahab, right? That means imagine how many taniyot it would have to be if a person is gorem lezeh. Imagine how many taniyot. You know how many taniyot you would have to do? Yes. Think about how many taniyot it would have.
I want to ask you a question.
So basically, Hanach Shvuyata Datai Lenarda. So we just finished by basically speaking about the entire concept of Avin, that after the regel, that's the most time that there is going to be obviously things of Averot. So Hanach Shavuyata Datai Lenarda. There was a maaseh of Shvuyot that they came to Narda, that they were in the hands of the Goyim. Asiknu Liber Rav Amram Chasida. So imagine, they put them in the Aliyah, on the second floor of Rav Amram Chasida. Ishkulu Darga Mikamayhu. They took the Sulam away, in order that there's no yichud. So one more time, in the olden days, it wasn't that you had the stairs on the inside of the house. The stairs were on the outside of the house. They took away the stairs, so now they can't come down. There's no yichud. All of a sudden, one of them was going through the entrance, right? Nafal nehora bi'ipuma. There was a light that came in from the window, and then it like illuminated it. What does that mean? That means basically all of a sudden, he saw whether it's going to be an image, a shadow, and all of a sudden she was beautiful. Shakle Rav Amram ledarga. Now this is Rav Amram Chasida. Did you realize that his name? Rav Amram Chasida. So what happened was he took the sulam. Now the sulam was very heavy. This stairs was a heavy stairs. 10 people couldn't take it. Meaning that you needed so many people to come and carry these stairs, right? He went, he took it on his own because he had the lust, because he had the desire. Salik ve'azil, he started going up to do an avirah. Kimata lepalga darga, when he got halfway up, ivshach, right? What happened is that he separated his legs in order that ki'ilu, that he did, and all of a sudden, Ramakala, he started coming and he started screaming, Nura be'amram, there's a fire in the house of Amram, right? Imagine, somebody calls fire, fire. What happened? The rabbis come, right? And they come and where's the fire? There's no fire. Oh, what's going on? You don't understand what's going on. Amrule, they told him, Kaseftina? So what's going on? Right? You were mevayesh otanu. Why? Because you're showing that Tamidei Chachamim could do averot also. You're showing that a Tamid Chacham could come and he could fall. Because that's what you're doing. You come and you call fire. Everybody has to come. They start seeing that you were going to go up the stairs and you took a ladder that not even 10 people were able to. You're able. What's going on here? Now, again, it could be that 10 people was even a guzma. But it just shows that him on his own, he was not able to do it with his regular strength. So he says, Amar lehu, he told them, listen to this. Mutav dikasfu be'amram be'alma haden. It's better that the house of Amram should be embarrassed in this world, and that you shouldn't be embarrassed of him in the next world. It came out from him at Surav Esh that came out. Amarle, he said, you see that you're a fire, and I'm basar vadam. But I still won you. Right? Look how much people come. I heard people, they come and say, and this is what David, what you just said, this is the point. Rabbi, don't worry about it. I go to the beach all the time. I could see women, it doesn't have effect on me. No, you're seeing them in the bikini, it doesn't have effect on me. I've heard that. People come and tell me that. And I come and I say, do you know why it doesn't have effect on you? Because you're so crooked. You're so crooked, right? And that's why it doesn't have effect on you. Do you know that it happens with this is a Gemara Mefuresha, by the way, right, in Masechet Shabbat, to do with the goyim. And the Gemara asks, why is it that goyim, for example, you know that, what's it called, certain goyim, listen carefully, Rabbi Meir Balanes, he was laughing at people that did Averah. And what happened? Yom Achad, the Satan came to him like a woman, right? On the other side of the river, there was no boat to go on the other side. Nakap Mitzray, he grabbed a rope, the Ka'avar, and he went through it. Meaning, think about it, we're not talking about now you and me. Rabbi Meir Balanes, and he took it and he went to the other side. Kimata Palga Mitzray, when he got to the halfway, right? Shavke, he let it go. Amar, he comes, right? All of a sudden, what happened? The Satan let it go, that means the Ka'avar of the Avirah. Amar, he loved the Kamachres of Rekia, Izaber Rabbi Meir Torato, Shavyate Ledamach Tarte Me'ai. I would have made you worth nothing. I would have made you worth nothing. No, Rabbi Akiva was mitzlotzeh. It's also בעוברי עבירה. Yom Achad. That's why, by the way, you should not make fun of the people that are over עבירה. And the reason you should not make fun is because we are human beings and we could also fall the same way. That's why I never come and I say that you should actually do that. The opposite. You have to be careful. And you have to go down. Right? Exactly. Because you're doing that. So you come and he says, you have to be careful. So Yom Achad, right? All of a sudden, there was a beautiful woman at the top of a dekel. He started trying to go up. The Kasalik Vazi, he starts going up. Then the Satan let him go. Amar, he told him, if it wasn't that they were mentioning to you in the Rakia, the same thing. I would have made you like mamash, like worth $2. Nothing. So you see from here that even the biggest of Tamidei Chachamim, I remember it once happened with the Chafetz Chaim.
The Torah protected them at the end.
Yes. The Torah did protect them. Mina Shemayim.
If not, you probably would go.
But he would have done it.
Yeah.
He would have done it. What does that mean? But that means don't think that people come and they say, no, but Rabbi, nothing bad's going to happen. These are the biggest of Tamidei Chachamim. And they were going to fall if it wasn't for the Torah that was protecting them. So imagine. So now what happens is that they actually happen with the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim comes and he said, it once happened, the Chafetz Chaim, he was towards the end of his life. He was in his 80s or whatever it was. And I remember they once said that with the Chafetz Chaim, that all of a sudden there was a waitress that she came and she went and she said, right, he went and he screamed and he said, I apologize. Please put something on. He says, what? There's Yetzer Hara. He's an 80-year-old man. That it could be that he doesn't even have Koach Gvurat Anashim anymore. But at the end of the day, the Yetzer Hara is always there. The Yetzer Hara never. Now, some people, they bring the Yetzer Hara in it. I was once at a wedding, right? And the rabbi went and he told the Chatan, he said, please do me a favor. He says, you want Shekhinah in your house and you want your wedding to go through, do not have mixed dancing. The guy went, he laughed at him, okay, fine. The rabbi tells me whatever he was divorced after a year and a half, right? Why? You want Shekhinah, there has to be Kiddusha. If there's Kiddusha, there's Shekhinah. There's no Kiddush, there's nothing. There's nothing that's going to happen there. That you cannot build upon that, right? If they're able to survive the whatever amount of years, that could be in the olden days, especially when they used to go through life and they didn't, nowadays you see it. There's no Kiddusha, there's nothing there. Playmo, Playmo used to say every single day, Gira be'ened Satan. These are chitzim, these are the arrows in the eyes of the Satan. Meaning he was like shooting at the Satan. You're trying to start with the Satan. Yom Achad, one day, it was Erev Kippur. Idameleki Aniyah. She came as an Ani. Ata Karabava. So he was calling him. Apiku lerifta. So they took her bread. They gave him, they took out bread. Amarle, the Satan told Playmo, Yoma Kiyaina Kuli Alma Gavai. Every single day, right? People are in the inside the house, and I'm going to be on the outside. Aile. So he brought her into the house, and he gave her the bread. Amarle, he says, Yom HaKeina today, Kule Alma Ataka. They're at the table, and I'm going to eat by myself. So he sat her down at the table, right? So the Satan was sitting, and he made as if that the entire body was full of mugla, and doing disgusting things. Amarle, right? He went, right? 81b. Tiv Shapir. He says, sit down properly. Amarle, he says, give me a cup of wine. Ichmar, right? He started coughing. Shadar bekicho, he put in his the phlegm inside of it. Nicharu bey, right? They told him, Shaka umit. What happened was he made himself like a dead person. Vishamu dekavu kamri, Playmo katil gavra. So then all of a sudden people started saying, Playmo killed him. Playmo katil gavra. Arak v'tashan nafshev betekiseh. He ran away and he went into the betekiseh outside of the city. Oziel batre, the Satan went after him, nafal kameh, right? And he put himself as if he was dead. When the Satan came and he saw that he was mitztael biyoter, galil nafsheh. Then he revealed himself. Amarle, he says, "My tam amarta achi." He says, "Why did you do that?" He says, "Why are you coming and telling me gira b'nei desitna?" So he says, "What should I say?" Amarle, he says, "Leima mor rachamana nigar be'asatan. Nigar Hashem b'asatan, not you. You're fighting with the Satan. You're going to lose with the Satan. If you try to fight with the Satan, there's nothing what to do. It's a lost case." Okay? Rav Chia bar Ashi, every single time he used to fall on, he used to do tachanonim, Havamar, he used to say, Rachaman yatzilenu Yetzer Hara. Right? Hashem should save us from the Yetzer Hara. What happened? He says, Yom Achad Shaminunu Levitu, once they heard, right, the wife, Amra Michti Kama, Shane de Parish Liminai, right, it's been a few years that they separated from me. Why do you do that? Yom Achad Avakagaris Begimte. One day, he was learning in the Gina, right? Kishta Nafsha, she beautified herself. Chalfa Vetanya Kamen, she passed in front of him once and twice. Amarla, he told her, Manat, who are you? Amra, she says, Ana Charuta. I'm the name of a certain zona that was known in the city. Right? The Hadre Miyoma, right, that I came today. Tava, he wanted to do an Avera with her. Amrale, she told him, Aitini alele achruma, right, Deresh Sutita. Right, give me the rimon, which is on the head of the tree. Meaning, give me that pomegranate that's at the top of the tree. Shavar, he jumped up. Azalata, he gave it to her. Kiata levete, when he came to his house, Havakashagar divitu tanura. Right, she was doing the tanur. She was making, putting on the oven. Salik, right, he went mekayati begaveh, and he went inside of it. Meaning, the fact that he already gave her that, right, he already went into the oven. We're going to have to see here is, the Gemara didn't actually say what happened at the end. Did he actually do an Avera, not do an Avera? Some people say that he be'emet lo ba'alea, but just the fact that he was winning, huh? No. It wasn't his wife, this case. This case wasn't her wife. But the fact that he was willing to jump up so high to go, right? And he was mamash, he got the rimon in order to give it to her. He went inside of the oven. His wife turned on the oven, right, to make bread, whatever. He comes inside of the oven. Amrale, the wife tells him, man, what are you doing? Amarla, he says, this was a story. Amrale, she told him, Ana avai, it was me. Meaning, don't worry about it. It was me. Lo ashkachba. He didn't pay attention until she gave him a siman to prove that it was him. Amarla, he told her, Ana mia li isurei kavanem. Yeah, but I had the kavanah to do an isur. Right? So again, it doesn't actually say if he actually did the isur or not. It's just the fact that he wanted to do the isur. Kol yomav shel oto tzadik haya mit'aneh ad she'emet be'ota mita. Do you know that he was mamash? He was mitaneh until he actually came, and he was actually it was through fire. That's what the Mishkai says. Right? That was loved of Kabatanur, but it was a fire. That means he died in a fire. Right? He died in a fire. The Tanyas we learned to the right. What are we talking about? A woman comes and she makes a neder to become a nazir. The husband hears and she didn't know that they're and she's drinking wine and being mitameh. Right? And therefore, right, that's why they said they still need a kapara. Rabbi Akiva used to come and he used to get to this pasuk and he used to cry. And Amar used to say, Uma mishen itkaven leechol basar chazir. If somebody has kavanah to eat chazir, v'ala biyado basar tzleh, and right now they want to come and they have a tzleh, they have sheep instead of a chazir. Right? Amra Torah, the Torah says, sicha kapara u'sicha, they need kapara u'sicha, mishen itkaven leechol basar chazir, v'ala biyado basar chazir. When you have a person that's putting the yitzhara in his mouth, he comes and he wants to go to these mixed events. He wants to make these events and he wants to do these things, and then he's going to have it. He says, Rabbi Akiva used to cry because at the end of the day, even if there was no avera done, the avera was already done. And that's why he says you already had to cry. Right? You already had to cry because it doesn't exist going and not coming out clean. The same thing you come and you say, what does that mean? You do not know. Right? And now you're going to be guilty, right? And you have to carry the sin. Rabbi Akiva used to come to this place, used to cry. He says, Mami, you shouldn't come and if somebody wanted to eat shuman, and then at the end of the day, he wanted to eat chelet. The Torah still says, Velo yada, he didn't know, and he still is guilty, and he has to carry his sin. Meaning somebody wanted to eat shuman. Shuman is a permitted fats. Instead of eating the permitted fats, he eats the prohibited fats, which is the chelet. And he needs kapara. Velo yada, he didn't know about it. But still, he says, no, he's guilty, and he has to carry his sin. A person actually wants to do that. Look what a sin that he has. Isi ben Yehuda, and Isi ben Yehuda comes and he says, "Velo yada ve'Hashem v'nasa avono." When he comes and he says, on this, that somebody is doing an avera b'shogeg, and he's still called a choteh, he's called a sinner, and he's called that is noseh avon. All the people have to suffer. All the people have to suffer. Next, we divide the two dots. A person could come and have yichud with his mother. A person could also have yichud with his sister. He can live with his mother and with his daughter. Right? Did you realize that it said it's mityached with achoto, but then it says living with the mother and daughter. This living mother and daughter is permitted without any problem. Yichud is permitted with a sister. That's what Moshe Feinstein speaks about. Are you allowed to live with your sister by yourself for long periods of time? This comes from this Gemara. Tanan, right? And in Kiamra Kamed Shmuel, when they said in front of Shmuel, Amar, he says, Asuli tached in kol arayot b'Torah, v'afilu b'emai. You're not allowed to have yichud with any arayot in the Torah, even with an animal. Tanan, we learned that. So it says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Tanan mitached adam imovim mitov. Yachani ma'mikru basat. What you to the Shmuel? What are you talking about? Here's the truth of the Shmuel, because you just said that you're not allowed to be mitached with kol arayot b'Torah, which is mashma even the mother and the sister. And here it says it's mutar. Shmuel is going to say, v'litamach, according to your reasoning. How did that we learned in the Braita? Achoto v'chamoto ushaklu l'Torah b'Torah. Achoto, the sister, and the chamot, and all the other ariyot b'Torah. Em mitiyached imahem ela be'edim. You're not allowed to have yichud with them, only with edim. What does that mean? Edim eni v'belim edim lo ela tanai. But it's a machuz ganim. The Tanya we learned to the Braita. Amar Rabbi Meir, says Rabbi Meir, hizaru mibnei bebeti, which means Rabbi Meir told his family, be careful even for my daughter. Right? What does that mean? And it says Rabbi Tafon, hizaru mibnei kalati, because of my daughter-in-law. And you see here, rabbis are truthful. Meaning, other people, they're going to say, me, nah, never. They came and they said, no, be careful, because they know that they could fall. Some people, by the way, they're over on this, right? And they're over surim doraita every single time. They come to their mother-in-law and they kiss their mother-in-law. I once was going to come, or their sister-in-laws. I was going to come to the guy and I was going to tell him, I don't understand where you're coming from. That's an arayot doraita. You sleep with her, it's yisud doraita. You get burnt, you get this. How could you come? You could kiss her. How could you come and do these things? Where are you going? But again, a person has to understand where he is. There was a tamid that came and started. Right? He comes and he says, right? It's not Tamid Hashemayim. Right? Exactly. That's what we're learning. He says, the tamid came and he started laughing. Look at this. Did you hear? Did you just realize? A talmid came and he laughed at his rabbi that Rabbi Tarfon comes and he says, be careful because of my daughter-in-law. That talmid, it was not a lot of days until he was Hechal with his mother-in-law. Midah keneged midah. You're going to start laughing at your rabbi. Nah, this rabbi, yeah, don't worry about me. The Talmid went, he was nichshal. In behema, says the Gemara, afilu in behema, what does that mean? Abaye mechlale mekula debara. Right? Abaye, right? Even with an animal, he says, when he was metayel by himself, mechlale mekula dibra, he used to monea behemo miklotzeh, not to have, right, yichud with him. Rav Sheshat ma'abar lemitzla. Rav Sheshat used to make ma'avir to behemot, right, when the gesher, right, in order to separate, right, between him and the animals. Rav Chanan ben Arda ikla le Rav Kahana lefum nahara. So Rav Chanan ben Arda once visited Rav Kahana mifum nahara. And he saw that there was an animal beside him. Elmaleh, he says, Elmaleh, he says, no, I didn't pay attention. I didn't realize that the animal was here, and that's why I was having the yichud. Amar Rava, I'm almost done. Amar Rava comes in. He says, a person can have yichud with two different yisot, with two different yizot. Mishte tzarot, im isha v'chamotah, im isha v'bat balav, im isha v'tinoket sheyodat tam biyah, ve'en moseret atzman lebiyah. So basically, these are women that they watch you from yichud. Who is that? A mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. That means, again, they're not your mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law, right? It's basically a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. They could have yichud with you. The reason why is because if one of them does avirah, since they hate each other, they're going to snitch on the other one. So therefore, it doesn't exist that you're going to convince both of them to do an avirah. They hate each other. So it's going to be shte tzarot, two co-wives, a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, a wife and the daughter of the husband, meaning a stepdaughter, right? Or a mother and the child, if the child knows tam biyah. Because if the child knows tam biyah, she's going to say, Mommy, what are you doing with this man? No, I'm just teaching. But why are you by yourself in the room with this man? Once she understands a little bit what's going on, that's already shomeret. Obviously, it has to do with ages and everything, but that's halachot already. And therefore, she's not going to give herself to biyah. Higdilu. Once right now, the boy and the girl, they grow older. Each one sleep in their own clothing. Meaning the father could sleep with his daughter, but they have to be with the same with the clothing. The mother with the son with the clothing. The kama. What does it mean? Higdilu now. Amar Ravada Amar Ravasi Tinoket Batesha Shnim Mechad. A girl that's 9 years old one day. Tinok Ben Shnemes Mechad. A boy is 12 years old one day. Ikadami the no. Tinoket is 12 years old one day, and a Tinok has been 30, meaning bar and bat mitzvah. Basically by the girls, it has to be like that the shadaich nichonu, that means they have their chest area already growing, and sarech tzimeach, that they have hair, pubic hairs down below. Amara from Bar Papa, Amara Chasta, Roshana would be talking about Ella she'ena boshal amol lefanav arom. If she's not embarrassed to stand in front of him without clothing, Haval boshal amol lefanav arom. But if she's embarrassed to be without clothing in front of him, it's going to be asur. My tama, what's reasoning? Yetzer al basha, because since she's bosha, right, she's embarrassed, so we know that there's a yetzer of arayot. Ravacha bar Abba ikla Rabbi Chasta chatne. Ravacha bar Abba went to the house of Rabbi Chasta, his chatan, right, chatano, shakle lebat barte. So he took the granddaughter. He put her in her bosom. Elmaleh, he says, more well, you can't even be mekudesh to you. Like, what's going on over here? Elmaleh, he says, avart lach de Rav. He says, what, avart an Rav? That, you're mekadesh your bitcha ktana an Rav. Tamar Rav Yudah Rav, Tamar Rabbi Elazar, asur l'adam sheikadesh bito k'shi ktana shetadil v'tomar v'ploni ani nutze. Meaning, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to start getting your daughter married when she's so young. So he says, more nami avar le deshmuel, damar shmuel, mistamshim b'isha. You're not supposed to use a woman. Amaleh anaki deshmuel sueli damar shmuel. Hakol leshem shamayim, which means like this, and this is by the way halakha maaseh, for a granddaughter you're allowed to, and here he's saying that he's doing it right leshem shamayim, meaning for a granddaughter because they say that that's coming from you, so that's going to be permitted.